Number two, the Bible describes him as blameless. This man who's going to serve as a bishop, he must be blameless. Now, both 1 Timothy 3, verse 2 and Titus 1, verse 6 use this term, blameless. They describe the bishop or the elder as being blameless. So look at verse 2. It says, a bishop then must be blameless, right? Husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. So here we're told he has to be blameless. Now, sometimes when a preacher or someone or a Bible class teacher goes through the qualifications of elders, I think some people have a tendency to tune out and they think, well, I'm never going to become an elder. This doesn't matter much to me. I would suggest for consideration, that's not a good way to think. We should all know these qualifications. That way, when we do appoint a man, we are all working together to make sure we're appointing someone who fulfills these requirements. But not only that, it's worthwhile for all Christians to study these qualifications or these principles here, because 99% of them apply to all Christians. They would apply to you and me, again, to all people who are followers of Christ. The Bible says, do all things without murmurings and disputings. And then notice it says, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. Philippians 2, verses 14 and 15. Now, these verses are not written to elders, right? These are ultimately for all Christians. Here we are encouraged that we ought to be a good influence in the world. We're to shine as lights in the world, right? To be an influence for good in this perverse nation. And notice there in verse 15 that the Christian is to be someone who's blameless. And so here we learn that this virtue, being blameless, is something for all Christians. And this is a reminder that an elder is someone who's mature in the faith. He's a good example of someone who's following what the New Testament teaches. He's a faithful Christian through and through. And so all the virtues that are used to describe Christians, several of them here are picked out and given as a qualification for a bishop. Again, a bishop specifically, 1 Timothy 3 verse 2, he must be blameless. Now, considering this quality, again, being blameless does not mean sinless. It does not mean without sin. Again, the Bible says all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Right? Any godly man, any woman, no one's ever come up to the level of God. Right? We all come short of God's glory. We all make mistakes. That's what it means to be human. To err is human, to forgive is divine. So, again, Romans 3 reminds us, again, we all make mistakes. That's why we need salvation. And if a man had to be without sin to become an elder, then we wouldn't have elders in the church today. God gives us commands we can accomplish, not impossible ones. So the word blameless here, again, does not mean sinless. It would indicate a man who has a good character, has a good reputation. Now, this would indicate he's not actively practicing sin. You know, he's not put himself in a situation where he's continuing in sin every day. But again, it doesn't mean that his whole past is without sin. Again, that would be impossible. The American Standard Version and some other translations will say above reproach instead of blameless. And so what does that look like? What does that mean that we are to be blameless and so on? Well, just staying in the context of 1 Timothy 3, if you go down to verse 7, I think here we have some good application of what it would mean that a man is blameless or above reproach. You can look at verse 7. Again, this is all about the person who would become a bishop. It says in verse 7, moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without. Again, those who are without referring to those who are not Christians, those who are outside of the church. And so here it's teaching us not only should he have a good reputation among his fellow Christians, but when he engages in business and he goes out into the world, the secular world, is interacting with people, people might not like he's a Christian, right? That's not what this is talking about. He should be viewed as someone who's a man of integrity. He has, again, a good report, a good reputation, even with those who are outside of the church. And this would connect to the idea of being blameless above reproach. He's not going to be a man who brings shame on the church, or, oh, we can't go to this congregation over here. Don't you know so-and-so goes there, and he's done this awful wicked thing, and he does all this and that. He ought to be blameless in that sense. Again, that he has good character. He has a good reputation.